Before Black Panther, we're actually going to show a short film that I received a few years ago and really loved, but didn't have a place for it. But now I feel like this is the perfect place for it before a movie like Black Panther. It's a movie called Mario and The Powerglove. It's about Mario as in Mario and Luigi. And it's a short film that will screen before Black Panther. And we have the filmmaker here tonight, Joseph Petrick. And let's give him a round of applause. But hold on just one second. And then after Black Panther, we'll have 3 artists who worked in the Black Panther realm in some capacity. We'll have animator Ruel Smith, visual effects artist Harris Wu, and comic book artist who worked on Black Panther, Shawn Martinbrough. So they'll all be here after. We hope you'll stick around for that. The short film Mario and The Powerglove is not in 3D, so you don't have to put your 3D glasses on for that, but you will have to put them on for Black Panther. And so we're going to have a quick Q&A with Joseph and a current BFA computer animation and visual effects student, Maya Mendonca, who will be handling both of our Q&As this evening. She'll be interviewing Joseph. So here's Joseph. He's a writer-director living in Los Angeles. He attended SVA from 2000 to 2004, where he met fellow SVA alum Andrew Bowser, who directed Mario and The Powerglove, who co-directed Mario and The Powerglove. Petrick and Bowser also made the feature film The Mother of Invention, distributed by The Orchard, and the pair have since worked creating exclusive content for MTV, FX, Cartoon Network, Nerdist, TBS, and more. Please welcome Joseph Petrick and Maya.
Welcome back to SVA. How do you feel?
Thanks. Feels good. Feels really good. They did not have this theater when I went here, and this is off the chains, you guys. This is really cool.
Well, congrats on everything. I just want to welcome you back. I know it's nostalgic for you right now to
for sure
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And congrats on your film. How
Thank you.
is it?
Well, I hope you guys like it. We made this movie with a company called Nerdist. Have you guys ever heard of the company Nerdist? Yeah. Okay. They do a lot of nerd-related stuff, and so we pitched them this idea, and they said we love it. It takes place at Comic-Con, and they said great. So just go ahead and do it then, and we'll put it on. We'll help finance it and all this. And we're like, great. How about getting us permission at Comic-Con to do this? And they're like, yeah, go do it. And so we were like, okay. So we shot it at Comic-Con, kind of guerrilla style. We didn't really have permission. We didn't really clear it with anybody. We just kind of shot it. And there's a fair amount of running around and crazy, props that we had to use and things like that. So it got a little dicey at times. The Comic-Con didn't necessarily always take too kindly to what we were doing, but thankfully we got away with it.
That must have been challenging. I don't know. I would have followed you guys all throughout the shooting. I have no idea. But so what was your time at SVA like?
My time at SVA was great, and one of the main things that I think is fantastic about SVA is the fact that you're not just going for whatever you're interested in. You're really, I was there as a screenwriter, but I got to meet photographers, I got to meet, graphic designers, and I got to meet people that were interested in experimental art, all these things that really inspired me in a way that made me think differently than just as a filmmaker, and I think that really helps shape and make you a more fully fleshed out artist in general.
Nice. Wow. Well, congrats on the film.
Thanks.
Is there anything that we should stay tuned for in the future?
Stay tuned. Well, there's, I believe, some DVDs of the feature that I made, and they'll be available somewhere outside. You can grab a copy of them. There's free. It's a feature film called The Mother of Invention. That movie is about an aspiring inventor who only can manage to invent machines that make him look foolish. But it's pretty funny. Got a great cast, and take a copy if you want. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming.
And I now want to welcome to the stage 3 of the artists who worked on the film, who are all School of Visual Arts alumni. First, Ruel Smith, is a filmmaker with over 13 years' experience in the animation and visual effects industry. As an animator, he worked with directors Ryan Coogler, Jon Favreau, David Fincher, Clint Eastwood, and more on notable titles including The Jungle Book, Flags of Our Fathers, Riddick, Hop, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Bungie's Halo Reach, Is that all one movie? Disney's Tron Legacy game, Medal of Honor, Resident Evil 5, Mortal Kombat 10, Gears of War 4, and Black Panther. Combining his passion for storytelling and his extensive experience in post-production, Ruel is excited to showcase his talent as a director with the release of his upcoming film and commercial projects. Next up, Harris Wu graduated from SVA in 2014 with the MFA Computer Arts program. He then moved to Toronto to begin his career as a rigging artist. He's worked with award-winning studios including Scanline VFX, Image Engine, and Framestore on films including Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Justice League. Harris is currently a rigging technical director at Framestore in Montreal. And finally, Shawn Martinbrough is the author of How to Draw Noir Comics, the art and technique of visual storytelling, published by Random House and reprinted in several languages. He is also the artist of acclaimed graphic novel crime series Thief of Thieves, published by Skybound Image Comics and written by Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman and Eisner Award nominee Brett Lewis. Shawn is a critically acclaimed creator artist whose DC, Marvel, and Dark Horse Comics projects include Batman Detective Comics, Luke Cage Noir, Captain America, Hellboy, and the Black Panther. He has co-created characters in the films Deadpool and Justice League, as well as in the TV series Batman, Gotham Knights, Gotham, and The Gifted.
So yeah, welcome back. Do you guys remember what it was like being a student at SVA? How's that been?
Oh, you going to me because I'm the oldest still on the stage? Well, I graduated in 1993, I know, all the way back then, and that was back before this was the SVA Theater, and back before, I guess, SVA owned everything down below 42nd Street. Yeah, it was a great time. It was a fun place to work as a student and to be in that creative space where you have your fellow classmates, all sort of striving to find themselves creatively. And it's a really cool school. And I always tell people that college is a place where it's kind of like what you get out of it, what you put into it. And it's really up to you to really, just absorb as much as you can, to prepare yourself to go out into the whatever industry you want to tackle.
Yeah. Awesome. Hi, how's everybody doing? Thanks for coming out. I guess I'd kind of like to start a little bit. It's great to see, this is my 8th, 9th time seeing the film, the 3rd or 4th time after it was released, so a bunch of progressions, and to me this is the best screening of it. A movie this impactful, it's kind of great to see it outside of Hollywood and just see how it connects with people, so that's awesome. I graduated 2004, so 2000 to 2004 were my years here. I went to high school in East Orange, a lot of my East Orange folks. Anybody here? Here we go. And I loved SVA. 17 years ago this week, I woke up my sophomore year in the dorm rooms to 9/11. And so that kind of changed, and I bonded with New York City since then. And SVA, being in art school, one of the great things about it is it's one of the top art schools in the country. So at the end of the day, no matter how technical it gets, you're still an artist. And it was a very welcoming 4 years at SVA, and to be able to create great art and experiences with a bunch of other amazing artists.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Harris?
Hello, guys. So I graduated in 2014 from the MFA Computer Art program, 4 years ago. So then I moved to Canada. So today, first time when I come back after I graduated, well, everything is still the same. Yeah, I can still find a restaurant around the SVA building, the same sushi restaurant. That's my favorite. All those lovely faces, and I visited my department yesterday. Yeah, it's really nice. It's definitely a memorable moment for me for this screening. Nice to see you guys.
That's awesome. So since graduating and stuff, you guys are in something that you guys specialize in. When did you know this is what I want to be doing as a career for the rest of my life? When did you know? What was that moment when you realized hey, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and work on this film, work on the comic book series? When did you know?
Let me start. For me, I always wanted to be an animator. The day I saw Lion King, I said, I want to do that for a living. And I was fortunate to go to a performing and fine arts high school in East Orange called Cicely Tyson Performing and Fine Arts High School. And Um, there you go. And then I had an amazing teacher, rest in peace, Mr. Vincent Patuto, who taught animation there, and that got me a chance to get accepted to School of Visual Arts, and just from there it picked up. Loving Toy Story, loving Toy Story and Pixar films, and carrying on from there. So yeah, I would say since the age of 13, I've always wanted to be an animator.
Yeah, I'd probably say elementary school. When I first started reading comics, I just really loved reading comics and telling stories. And then I went to Performing Arts High School, Fiorello LaGuardia. LaGuardia in the house, boom, music and art. I was an art major there, and that was interesting because that was I'm a native New Yorker, and I grew up in the Bronx. And when I was in junior high, my mom, probably when I was in elementary school, I had one of those Star Wars lunchboxes, those old metal lunchboxes that kids probably can't bring to school anymore. And it was a Star Wars lunchbox, and I remember drawing that lunchbox, and I brought the drawing home, and my mom and my dad saw it, and they said, oh, this kid might have some talent. So they enrolled me in a local community center painting class. And that's really where I learned how to paint. And then I created a portfolio of work that I showed to get myself into LaGuardia. And I got into LaGuardia as an art major. And then I had a buddy of mine who was also a comic fan. And he was like, hey man, I take a really cool cartooning class on the weekends, and it's up in Harlem, and it's at this nonprofit organization called the Children's Art Carnival. And they would have black professionals come in and teach classes for free in cartooning, drawing, photography, and video. And that's really where I met my two mentors that really kind of just prepared me to sort of become a comic book artist. And one of them was all about the drawing. He's like, you have to learn how to draw, perspective, anatomy. The other one was like, this is a business. This is a hustle. And art schools really don't teach you about the hustle of actually becoming a professional artist. And so he introduced me. He would take his class to tour. We would get tours of DC Comics, Marvel, and I really started meeting artists that were, working the business, people whose work I was a fan of, and that really showed me that I could do this. And they also, I also saw people of color that were doing it as well. And so from there, I just really started just developing my craft. I went to the School of Visual Arts. I got a scholarship, and I went here for 4 years. And I was really determined not to wait until I graduated college before I went to look for a job, because that's when everyone's looking for a job. So in my junior year, I went to the New York Comic Con, and back then that was like the only Comic Con in the country for the most part. And you would, bring your portfolio to get work at, from Marvel and DC. And I waited online with my portfolio. The editor would kind of go through your stuff, and if they liked it, they'd give you a card and say, give me a call. And that's how I got my first professional work from Marvel Comics. And thank you. So since then, I just, so the thing about Marvel and DC is that they're competitive, so they steal everything from each other. Like they steal, artists, writers, paper clips, whatever. And so if you work for Marvel, then all of a sudden DC will say, hey, we want you to work for us. And if you work for DC, Marvel will say, hey, we want to work for you. And so over the years, I just bounced back and forth, working on different titles for Marvel and DC. And it was really cool to sort of, in a very small part, just draw, the Black Panther way back in like 2010 for Marvel. And so it was really cool to sort of see. It's just been a real treat to see all of these films that are based on the work of so many artists, who have drawn the comic books, and to see other artists, like you guys, just sort of build on that and sort of take it to the next level. And that's pretty much, it's really cool. So.
Yeah. Well, so for me, it's like when I was still in China, in college, my major is more about filmmaking, and I saw my neighborhood department, their animation, their 3D software is so cool, and they don't need to pay for expensive camera or stuff. I got to learn that stuff. Then I learned 3D after a while, and I figure out well, I'm probably not artistic. Then I said myself okay, I'm a nerd, so I want to go to a technical artist. I'll be a rigger. So if you want to do a 3D animation, normally I want to work for Disney or for Blue Sky or something. I want to work for big film, right? So when I moved to Canada, I started my career as a TV animation studio. But I always have a dream to work on big film. Then after a while, I got the chance to work for Scanline, and that's how I started my career for visual effects. Then till now, I mean, it's really nice experience.
Wow. It's really great, like, hearing all of your stories, and, like, I just want to say, like, on, like, a personal, it's really great to see, like, people of color in the industry, especially for, like, me, like, I'm a young black woman, and, like, it really motivates me, and, like, I bet, like, many others to, like, really just work hard, and, like, it'll all, like, come, like, throughout, like, yeah. But I just want to know, like, since you guys might be, like, somebody else's inspiration, like, right now, who were your, like, inspirations, and, like, who influenced you, like, as you were growing up as a young artist?
I would say I was a huge Disney fan when I was growing up. I loved, my favorite film is The Lion King. And one of my other biggest inspirations was my animation high school teacher, Mr. Vincent Patudo. He was just kind of helped me lay the groundwork to be where I am. And from then it's, Toy Story and Pixar and what they've done and the achievements that they've created over the years. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I'd probably say, so my influences came from comics. And so, of course, you have the greats like Jack Kirby and then, John Buscema. But I grew up in the 80s, so I was more influenced by more contemporary artists. So you had your John Byrne, your George Perez, Walt Simonson, Frank Miller, Mike Mignola. But the thing about, it's funny because art school, they'll force you to go to museums, and when you're a student, you're like, yeah, I don't really care about that stuff. But then as you get older, you start saying, oh, that was actually pretty interesting stuff, and that a lot of that stuff is like the foundation for art that's being created today. And so a lot of my influences extend to Monet, Manet, Toulouse-Lautrec, Gustav Klimt. A lot of artists that are outside of comic books, and then I'm a huge film and TV fan. So a lot of my artwork is really influenced by film and TV. And so, of course, you have the Godfather movies, you have, Star Wars, you have Disney, you have all of the Pixar films later on. And for me, it's constantly absorbing and sort of being inspired by new material that helps me create what I do every day.
So for me, I'll say the first thing would be the Japanese manga. Something like One Piece and Slam Dunk or Dragon Ball, they're awesome. I know dreams, how dreams work from them. Then I would say Pixar's short film, definitely. That is something I realized I want to do 3D animation. Then definitely my instructor in SVA, they give me lots of help in my career. Yeah.
Nice. All right, so before we get into some Black Panther questions, Shawn, I understand that we have some pictures of your work. Do you mind if we show it on the screen?
Yes. Be my. Yes. Okay.
We got to get out
This
the way.
on me. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so So this is like some samples of my work. Because as you can see, I'm very influenced by like a lot of high contrast noir style artwork. So this is like a page from my Black Panther story from Marvel. It was called Black Panther: Man Without Fear. At the time, I really wasn't keeping up with current Black Panther continuity. And at this point, the Black Panther was sort of helping Daredevil out by watching over Hell's Kitchen. So it was.
This is amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, thanks. So, so basically, thank you. So,
we
yeah, so
we could have
basically.
used a lot of this. This is amazing at Marvel.
Yeah, so the Black Panther is sort of watching over like this woman who's been targeted by the Hand. For those of you who don't know, the Hand is like this ninja organization that are just evil and they like to do bad things. So he's basically watching over her, and then something happens. He goes in and he sees that the security guards that were protecting her have been killed. Then, so these are basically pages. So this is one page and that's another page. He comes in, he rescues her. He sees that the Hand has really killed everyone in the hospital. And my thing with the Black Panther is that I was trying to sort of depict the Black Panther as looking more cat-like in how he moved. And so I kind of have him kind of like moving on all fours, kind of, always kind of crouching. And this is just me just really having fun with just visualizing the action, different camera angles, playing with light and dark and shadow. This is like some other work that's not Black Panther related, but I did like a Luke Cage miniseries that kind of reinterpreted the character as being set in the Harlem Renaissance. And so this is like a cover, and it was really like a fun way to sort of reinterpret Luke Cage. And I know the creator of the Luke Cage Netflix series, and he was like a really big fan of my Luke Cage work. And I told him, hey, listen, man, when you do the series, just find a way to put him in a suit, because that was sort of like my little thing for Luke Cage. So this is just a really good example of how art inspires art. This is like my initial like redesign of Luke Cage, because for those of you who don't know, Luke Cage was created in like the 1970s, so he was a real blaxploitation character. He had like a big afro, a yellow silk shirt, blue spandex, a metal tiara. He would punch people out and be like, "Sweet Christmas." When I was young, I kind of bought that, and then when I got older, I was like, "What the hell?" So, so when Marvel came to me and said, "Listen, we really want to do this miniseries that would reinterpret him in a different time," I really jumped at the chance because it allowed me to kind of make him look more sophisticated, and I put him in a suit, and that was really cool. So this is like some of the artwork from Luke Cage, just really him sort of returning to the Harlem 1920s after getting out of jail. This is some of my Batman work. I drew Detective Comics for 2 years, so it's just me playing with angles, drawing the Batmobile. Just really playing with like just different angles to try to create motion, dramatic scenes. You can see, listen, I was a huge music video fan, so of course I would like really try to adopt angles and such, and really play with scale, shifting angles. One of the cool things about drawing comics is that sometimes you'll draw a comic and then maybe 10 or 15 years later, it'll be adapted into a movie and TV, and you're like, oh wow, really? So I created this character named Angel Dust way back in like a Morlocks comic book back in 2001 with a little-known writer named Jeff Johns. And it was probably Jeff Johns' maybe first or second gig in comics. And we created this character, and then she got adapted for the first Deadpool movie. And so these are like my original drawings, and then you see like how the Gina Carano played her in the movie. This is another character from that same miniseries, The Morlocks, and it was adapted for the new Fox series, The Gifted, which is really cool. So if you see like the bottom, that's my original drawing of this character named Shatter, who when he found out he was a mutant, he really was depressed and really wanted to take his own life and put a gun to his temple. But since he developed the power of rock hard skin, he didn't kill himself. So that's why he had that crack in the side of his head. And it was really cool seeing how they visualized the live action actor to be based on my original drawing, which is pretty cool. This is the Captain America story that I did for Marvel. This is really cool. I did a Hellboy story because I'm a huge Hellboy fan, and I'm a huge Mike Mignola fan. He's one of my main influences. And basically, Mike Mignola was like, hey, Shawn, I love your work. If you ever want to draw a Hellboy story, let me know. And I was just like, whoa. So this is really cool. The one on the left is a drawing basically for a friend of mine. He created this character called La Boricueña. She's a Puerto Rican superhero, and he did a benefit to help out the victims of the hurricane in Puerto Rico. And so I did a piece on the left for him. Thanks. And then on the right is the project I've been working on with Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead. This does not involve zombies, but this is about like an international jewel thief, and the series is called Thief of Thieves. And so this is just work from Thief of Thieves, and you can just see like our main characters, like this jewel thief. He always runs afoul of maybe criminals, gangsters, and it's just a really dramatic series that I have a really good time doing. We're wrapping it up, but these are just some of the scenes from the series, Thief of Thieves. And you can just see like my style and how I'm really influenced by film and television, and I'm really trying to play with action and adventure. And, all this stuff is just, inspired by other artists and TV shows and everything else. And that's my art book, How to Draw in Art Comics, which was a great way to just kind of give people a little insight into how I compose and tell a story, and, how I use light and dark. And these are just some of the Thief of Thieves covers. And, yep, so this is in stores now if you want. All right, so back to Black Panther. Cool.
Damn. Wow, that was some beautiful work. Like, I'm shook right now. So back to Black Panther, yeah. So one of my favorite scenes in Black Panther was that car scene. And like every time I watch it, I'm just like, I'm just sitting in my seat, just like, literally the entire time like that. And like, I understand that you worked on it. Can you tell us more about like what did you do around that car scene?
Oh yeah, so that was an amazing scene to work on. We got to touch a lot of different shots as an animator on the film, and I worked I did a specific department of animation called post-viz animation. It's in between final and final animation from what you see and right after they shoot it, and that kind of helps shapes the story. So some of the more iconic shots that I animated on was the shot where he runs out of the casino and he's running down the street, the market street, and the Lexus comes up behind him and he transforms into Black Panther and backflips and lands on the car. There is the shots where it got the Lexus was exploded from Claw's weapon, and he flies off, lands on the side of the building, runs, and then he jumps off and grabs the wheel out. So from that particular sequence, some of those sequences is what I worked on, I would say. Yeah.
And Harris, you worked on the ship, the rig of the ship. Can you tell us more about that?
Right tunnel fighter or
For the
The
Black
Talon Fighter.
Yeah.
the Talon Fighter.
Yeah, well, that one is interesting. I mean, we got that ship from other vendor, like other studio. They were like, oh, that's really cool. Then we're just like a match. Like there are so many pieces, like how we want to move this one, how we want to make that one move. And there are like lots of high tech stuff. And, yeah, just make it look cool. There's some of them are not like really that realistic, but for movie we just want it to be cool. Right?
Yeah.
It is fun stuff.
So to kind of explain, I worked at Marvel on the Disney lot with them, and then once we prepped stuff, we sent it to multiple vendors. So that's what I meant about like the final stuff once we sent it off. So do you remember what vendor you got it from?
I think we got from probably IOM.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah. So it was kind of one of those situations where we're working with Ryan and you're working with the editing team and we're creating, and then we have to send it off to different. I mean, it was a huge undertaking. So it's awesome that you guys got to touch it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work put into this amazing movie. And I know like one thing that came out of this movie that was like a big talk like amongst everybody was just the two characters like T'Challa and Killmonger. Like it's been a big trend like all the time. It's like, are you for Killmonger? Are you for T'Challa? Like this has just been a big discussion everywhere. So I just figured like this would be a great time to like talk about it. Like, are you guys Killmonger? Are you guys T'Challa? Like it's a big discussion.
I remember after we did one of the first screenings, so we have a few friends and family screenings, and it's a work in progress throughout. So we were part of 5. So around the first one, this might be around September, I think. When we walked out, I was just like, Ryan, I don't know, man. I'm a Killmonger fan. We're gonna have to, there's gonna be sides. And what was interesting, a little tidbit. So cast and crew, I would say cast is predominantly Black, obviously. But the visual effects team, especially the ones that were the small team that was with like the editors and the VFX soups, it was about 4 of us, maybe 5 of us, one of the editors, and we were watching the first screening, the first director's cut. And so it's just the 2 of us in there in the room watching, that are Black, that are watching. And at the end where he delivers the line of throw me into the ocean, I want to be buried, then be held in bondage, like I gasped. I was like I clutched my bosom. I don't even have a bosom. Like I turned around and like no one knew what I was doing. And I was like, are they gonna keep this in the movie? Like, is Disney gonna let us get away with this? And I just remember saying like, this is gonna be an iconic moment in the film. And I was happy that it made it all the way through like all 9 or 10 friends and family revisions of the film. So.
I mean, come on, listen, Killmonger's great. But I think the great thing about every villain is that what makes a good villain is that they have to have a motivation that makes sense. The problem is they just take it too far. So I think that the great thing about Killmonger is that I remember when we first saw the film, my wife and I were fortunate enough to be invited to premiere in LA. And it was really just cool seeing it in like we had like fellow Marvel artists next to us, but then Snoop Dogg was like right there, and like the cast was there, and people were just really just into the movie, like they were just reacting to it. And it was just so awesome. And Killmonger's rage to me, I just loved seeing like his rage. Like he was just a beast.
Yeah.
but then you just take him too far. He just goes too far. So it's like, okay, the guy like that could never really rule effectively because he's just too blinded by his rage. And that's what makes him the bad guy. But I get him. I totally get Killmonger. And I think that the fact that Killmonger had an effect on T'Challa is great. So T'Challa is almost carrying part of Killmonger forward going in the story, which is what makes it so great. So I'm like, both. You know?
Yeah.
So when I work on this movie, like because our studio only have like a part of the sequences, like when I watch it on my computer, like without sound, so I'm like, what's going on there? I saw them fight together, but I don't know why, and I don't know what they are talking about. But when I finally see the whole film in the screening, I'm like, oh man, that's so awesome! Like the story is like fully touched, and I totally get into those two characters. They are all like have their own reason to fight, and that's really cool.
Awesome. So I'm gonna ask one last question, then I'll open it up to the audience. So what should we what's next for you guys? What should we stay tuned for?
Okay, well, so I've been doing animation and visual effects for about 14 years now. So I feel like I'm kind of to the tail end of my career as an animator, and I'm transitioning into directing. So I'm in pre-production for my first feature film that I hope to shoot next year.
Well, actually, I'm finishing up Thief of Thieves. We have like an issue left, and then I'm done with the series. And I'm really going to move into more creator-owned writer projects that I write as well as I draw. And I'm really excited about that. And so I'm going to be like announcing some projects at Comic-Con in New York in October. So I'm really excited about that stuff.
That's awesome.
So I'll probably work on another Marvel movie.
It's a machine. It's a machine.
That's what
Never ends.
Oh, you were saying about The Lion King. You should check out Kimber the White Lion, that The Lion King was taken from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you should watch that because all of the scenes were exactly the same.
Yeah, I've seen
But
it.
I have two questions. I have two questions for both y'all. First, are they gonna do a flashback and show his when he was younger and him hanging out with Storm, and then showing Storm as his first wife?
Well, I don't necessarily own. Oh, sorry.
Oh, and then the next question for you is, I saw in your picture you went back to the original outfit. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt with the first outfit.
Okay.
And what made you go back to the original?
But wait, what I drew on this stage, that's not the original outfit, though.
Oh, you used the original gloves and the original thing.
No, see, man, you let me down, man, because you have the original. That looks like the original Kirby. That's a Kirby, but that's Kirby. But no, what I did was that was like a more recent thing. It was like a more recent costume that I wasn't familiar with, and actually it looks a lot more like the Killmonger costume in the movie than what you have on. Yeah, maybe you're just looking at the gloves and stuff. Yeah, but for the most part, yeah, that wasn't the original costume that I did.
No, not the costume. Just talking about the gloves.
Oh, the gloves. Yeah, I mean, I guess there are certain elements that they kept from the original costume. Yeah, so.
Oh, that wasn't your choice.
No. When you're an artist, unless you're writing and drawing the story, you get a script and you have to follow what's been written or what's been specified. And usually with Marvel and DC, they will give you guides in terms of how the characters should look, so you get it right. So yeah, I had to do some research and see what the Black Panther looked like at that particular time.
I would say Marvel is an empire, right? So they greenlight movies from 10 years from now, and every movie has to fit into that timeline. So I have no control over that, and I wish I did. But I would say, for me, what I hope that they do next, and I don't know, I have no insider information, so any cameras are running, I know nothing. What I hope they do next is the Nakia Okoye story. Because the best line that I took from that was when they were talking and one said, I serve my country, and one said, I save my country. That I pulled that from and said, that's where I hope. Whatever happens next, I hope someone does that. That's what I think. So that's what I would say, yeah.
Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm a big Marvel fan. I read the comics all from a kid. So I pretty much know a lot of the the Black Panther history, a lot of other characters, Avengers, X-Men, from being a kid. So Marvel has a tendency of bringing back both heroes and villains, so no one really stays dead. So just a general thing that anyone that's a comic book reader knows. My question to you, everyone that's been working on Black Panther, is that they did talk about doing a sequel if it was successful, and it's greatly successful. So let's say everyone up here is going to be working on the sequel. My question to each of you is, where would you like it to go?
I feel like I answered that question.
Well,
Put me on the spot.
yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, I just draw the comics, so I don't have anything to do with the movies because it's really separate. I really don't know because this movie was so good, honestly. Like, you know, it's when something's really good, I don't like to try to figure out where they're going to go. Like, I like sort of turning that off and just going with it. So I'm just looking forward to being surprised. You know, for me, I don't like when I can watch a movie or a TV show and I know exactly where it's going to go, and I'm like, oh man, see, I can kind of figure out what's going to happen next. So I really don't know where they would go with this because it was so good. So I don't know. Sorry, man. Yeah.
Got the mic right there.
You want to guess where they might go?
Well, I'm a best storyteller, so I'm like I'll wait till the movie release.
I hope Nakia becomes. That's what I would say. If I got to pick, I would say Nakia becomes.
He's dead, man.
I mean, he's dead. Which is interesting. So here's a funny thing. There's a funny thing in Avengers Infinity Wars where everyone is like, oh, a lot of people died. Oh, and then literally 5 days later, a lot of people, their contracts were renewed, the actors, and it like appeared in the Hollywood Reporter. So it's like, oh, you have a 4-picture deal. I guess you're not going to be dead.
I mean, come on. I mean, like, the thing is, like, you're shocked when you watch that movie because I love Infinity War. Mm-hmm. And intellectually, you know that they're not going to kill off the Black Panther who just made $1 billion at the box office.
That's not
you know
gonna
that.
happen.
But it was just so well done that you're like, oh my God. But actually, you know what? I bet you for the sequel, they're probably going to do something with Shuri and put her in the Black Panther suit.
Oh, you think that's what they're going to do? Okay.
Yeah, that's what if you're going to force me to you're forcing me here. I think that Shuri's going to, because in the comics, Shuri actually wears a version of the Black Panther costume. So I would guess they're going to do that for the sequel.
Today's my birthday, and I'm 50.
Oh.
No, I didn't do for that. All right. But thank y'all.
Let's all sing him happy birthday.
Thank y'all anyway. But no, please. But the reason I bring that up is because as a 56-year-old man, I watched that film and cried. And I'm serious about this. I just want to. You all played a part in the third highest grossing movie of all time domestically. And I have no idea how that makes you feel, but what I will share with you is that whatever role that you all played, and you all played some role with respect to the continuity of the character, with respect to the evolution of the character, with respect to the taking it from just it being something that a kid watched to the point where it's something that a 56-year-old man cries at. Thank you for bringing your art to the fore and standing up for what is true inside of all of us. The question that I have for you, and I want to thank my wife because I watched that movie 20 times. Wow. So at least I'm sure of it, right? God bless Movie Pass. I know I blame me. I probably put them out of business, but I watched that movie. I want to thank my wife because I didn't think that I could watch it again and feel the same way I felt as I watched it the first time, and I did, and it's probably because half of y'all didn't see the movie, and that was fantastic to watch it again. The question that I have is that the scene that you said you were played a part in, which was the iconic scene of the car driving
driving and all of that. Could you just describe just a little bit, and I know maybe many of you had multiple parts to play in it, could you describe kind of what that process is like? I mean, I have no idea. Do you go from like storyboarding to that? Is that what the ideas for how that came about? Was it Ryan? Was it not? Was it just you all? That's the question I have.
Thank
and again,
you. I appreciate
God
that.
bless you.
Appreciate that. Happy birthday. I would say, you know, to jump a little bit back to what you were saying. I mean, this was an iconic, you know, this was an impactful moment on me as well. There's a lot of full circle moments for this. I moved out to LA right after college, age 22, you know, a dollar and a dream to be an animator. And early on in that process, I met Ryan Coogler while he was still in college. And just, you know, got to see, like, you're going to be a great storyteller someday. You are a great storyteller now, but you're going to, like, you know, touch the people. And so when I came to work on this movie, it's from a separate channel. We just kind of walked in the hallway, and he was like, Ruel? And I was like, you remember me? Kind of thing. So that was great. And then to see someone that looked like me, from a similar neighborhood like me, you know, in a big, you know, machine like this, storytelling machine like Marvel, and to see him stay true to himself, for me, was amazing. And sometimes when you're in the middle of the fog of war, it's hard to, like, see where you are. Like, we all were nervous. Marvel was nervous, Ryan was nervous, I was nervous. And so even coming down, you know, finishing up the film, we didn't know how well it was gonna do. You know, like, we didn't know the actual turnover rate, and to see what it did, not only numbers-wise, but how impactful it was for people. So for me, that, you know, getting to what that's what I was saying earlier, like, to see this outside of Hollywood, you know, with, you know, people that they're just watching a movie and connecting with it, and it's not how it was made and stuff like that. For me, that was amazing. As far as that particular scene, I came on, I would say, February 2017, and I worked till December 2017. And when I came on, they had been finishing up shooting in Atlanta, and they were coming back to LA. So I stayed in LA at Disney, the Disney lot. And so I wasn't a part of a lot of the storyboarding. A lot of that was done, and then they shot, and then they came back, and it was like, we have to figure stuff out to make it really work, the visual effects in the film. So for instance, for that shot, they just had a plate, and it was a really long take of him just running, T'Challa, Chadwick running, and then doing like a little jump, and then dodging out of frame. And I have to animate Black Panther running in his place, and then a takeover of him flipping in the air. So I had to animate that part, and then him landing. And then obviously there's a huge team of different people that add the visual effects, the burning off the suit and all that different things. But a lot of those shots and scenes, for where I was, it was still a storytelling, developing part of the film. In crafting the film, where we would animate it different, or animate different versions of it. How high does he jump? When he lands, is the car swerving? And just kind of figure out what worked. So that's, I would say, that, you know, how that piece came. And it took about, like, for me, I would say a couple weeks to, like, doing different versions to get it to where it was approved and then gone out the door. Yeah.
We have a question.
Actually, I have a question. Was there ever a Black Panther, a real stunt guy on the car?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In a few shots there were, but not the obviously not the flip shots, but there were a few shots.
Okay. All right. Because it was really pretty seamless, man. I was like, I think that's is that a real person on the car, or is that a
there was
CG?
like certain sequences.
Down the streets, maybe some of those alley. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for making such a wonderful film. It's awesome. It's the first time I'm seeing it today.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I want to ask you, how much of you know, when you're scouting for locations, because I've seen it's such a grand scale of everything that you know, had to shoot. How much of it is green screen, and how much of it is the actual location?
Well, since it's a visual effects heavy film, a lot of it is green screen, and obviously a good portion. I would say probably about maybe 50-50 or 60-40, as far as 40 being green screen. So like the vibranium fight in the mine, that was all green screen, and that's all CG or computer graphics. as far as the environment when they're falling in, that was all full CG. And then when they're like talking to each other from across while the train was going, that would be the more live action, but all the environment was CG.
Well, first of all, I am 63 years old as of last month. And just like that gentleman, my background is a little different, only because I've been on both sides of it. I grew up in high school and middle school in the 70s, so therefore, with respect to Marvel, I had a brother who was a great animator, and I remember the cartoons. My background is in media management and film. So I did a couple of shorts, but I'm also on the legal side, so the cerebral and the creative.
Nice.
And I say all of that because I remember Hollywood East. I don't know if you all know Lisa Keys, but she had SVA. We used to go to different shorts and different films in the 80s and the 90s because she wanted to bring Hollywood to the East Coast. And so she came from New Jersey, but what was so cool, just like you all are compartmentalized, because each of you have your respective areas, it all comes together. Are you all going to do a collaboration? Because I know in my business, we have friends that are cameramen. We have friends that are the animators. We have friends that we like to work with. So do you all foresee working with each other here and forward as a little network, if you will?
With us together?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
You're all up there. I know.
Well, we just met, so I mean, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
No, but I mean,
we are
of
bonded
course.
by SVA.
Yeah, of course,
you
of
are.
course.
So
Right.
I think for
I
me,
know you're alumni. Mm-hmm.
for me, I would say within the respects to giving back to the current students that, being here, being influenced, being inspired by the younger, students coming up. I would say that would be a way that I would want to.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
good. No, of course. I mean, listen. I'm always. It's always great to work with talented people, and these guys are both
Absolutely.
really talented. So yeah, of course. I mean, of course, we're going to exchange information before we leave here. So yeah.
well, I did go to the Cannes Film Festival. I'm not going to hog the mic. What I did want to say is this. As far as the gentleman, the integrity of the film, as a black woman in particular, it was a wonderful story that is universal because it talked about the virtues and the values that is universal. And I love that. I love the cinematography. I love the costumes. I love the period of time that transcends. And I thank you for that, your parts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a question over here.
I would say that's Ryan Coogler is a brilliant director and a brilliant storyteller. Yeah.
Thank you guys once again for the great film. My question is there any series that you guys want to work on but just doesn't have the chance to work on yet?
Any series?
Or comics, characters, or mangas?
Well, there are always lots of them, but you have no choice for that.
Not really. I don't really have everyone like. I get that question a lot. Are there any characters that you would love to work on? For me, it's a challenge. So if you came to me with like Howard the Duck, a graphic novel, I mean, I wasn't thinking about Howard the Duck. It wasn't one of my favorites, but that would be a challenge to try to visualize that. So that's kind of what motivates me these days. Sort of the challenge of it. Yeah.
I would say what motivates me these days is I'm ready to tell my own stories. And especially seeing someone like Ryan Coogler do that, I'm like, okay, I can do that now, especially with a background of visual effects. But I'm interested to kind of tell my story. I think the visual effects is cool, but the story is what connected with everybody, and I really want to be able to do my part in that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, so first thing, I'm 19, so I guess I'm the youngest person. I think first thing first, I think this movie was amazing because I feel like sometimes, especially in entertainment, which is what I'm trying to also do as well, people tend to talk more about entertainment than politics sometimes, and I feel like celebrities and movies and everything has a huge power in not just entertainment, but in the world, and it makes people talk. So one thing I know that in this generation in time, especially millennials, things are growing and changing. from movies like Black Panther being able to be like number 3 to being I know the new Spider-Man coming out, which is Miles Morales, and he's black, and I think like I'm mixed, so I'm half Chinese, half Japanese. I know that Big Hero 6 had a huge part in as an Asian scene, and also the new Hulk is also Asian, from what I believe. But I think like there never has really been like a really like Asian like superhero. So I was wondering if you know like if you had one, like if you could like think of a superhero similar in the sense of like Black Panther, especially since like. All right, Asians all just hate each other. Like Koreans don't like Japanese people, and like we all have different values, especially in that sense. But we're all like things are getting better slowly. So like I was wondering because especially in Asian culture, how all of them are so different and different like cultures, different like backgrounds, even though we're all Asian. I was wondering if you were going to make like an Asian superhero, what would you should decide on? Wait, which one? Oh, well, like mainstream though, like having an entire movie based on it, in a sense.
Well, go ahead. Well, no.
He's going first. He's going first.
I don't
like
think
that.
I should cultural appropriate that question. So.
Well, I mean,
Make it good, Harry.
oh no, actually, you can make a Jackie Chan movie. That can be superhero.
Jackie Chan is the new superhero.
You take it next, man. You go. You follow that. Go ahead.
You can say anything. Like I don't.
No, well, I think that should be up to the people who are close to that. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really up to you to represent yourself and tell your own stories. I mean, listen, and I'm not saying that you have to be Asian to create an Asian character, because there are plenty of really cool characters that were created by people that were not particularly of that ethnicity. But I think to really get those really cool nuances and those details,
The authenticity.
the authenticity. Like when you look at Black Panther, there's certain things in there that only African Americans or Black folks would put in a story like that,
And have like fight for in a story.
Yeah, so I think that but and as someone said, there are Asian characters in Marvel and DC, and outside there are. But I think that it's hopefully it'll be like an Asian person in Hollywood with clout that can say, hey, listen, I want to tell a story with an Asian, Asian person with powers.
Yeah.
But but I'm sure Marvel's got one on deck too. I mean, they're a machine, man. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there's one coming out in about a year or two.
Yeah.
I don't know who it would be though, because they are kind of far and few between in Marvel, the MCU. So, but I don't keep up with continuity. There might be new ones.
Gotcha.
I feel like we have a response.
Hi, my name is William Yu. I actually work in LaGuardia. In the
Nice. LaGuardia in the house. Okay.
I'm 59 years old.
LaGuardia in the house.
Actually, I already
59,
got
my
my
God.
master a long time ago from MIT. Never did anything that I love, but I was like by accident I'm here. I just want to thank SFA and you guys for being here. And to me, it doesn't matter. The film tells the story. It crosses diversity. And you guys as artists, as entrepreneur, give your vision and pour that love. And, just by you storyboarding, whether the costume, it's such a beautiful film. My daughter, who's 19 years old, she's sensitive like me. She cried. She's the one that got me saw it for the first time, and this must be the 4th or 5th time I saw the film. And it's still, I may not cry, but the truth is, it really tells the stories about the country. It shows Africa. It shows how far we have come as human beings. We learn to love and respect and enjoy entertainment in such rough political climates.
Yeah.
So, I just want to thank you all for being such a good visionary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. There's one thing I would add to that, which is where he's speaking from. It's not a lot of kids that are Black have ever seen a superhero on this level do this well and be projected like this. And I think that's something he's speaking from. So I think him wanting to see eagerly, someone that looks like him at the highest level, and a company put $200 million behind it and authenticity behind it, and say, make something that, will, like, I'm Jamaican, born and raised in Jamaica. And, lucky for me, I saw, a movie like Lion King, and I was always been a fan of James Earl Jones and all these different people, and then to see a movie that I connected with as an artist, as an animator, that's something special. And sometimes you need to see yourself on the screen to be inspired as well. So I think both of you, I think I like what both of you said. I appreciate that.
We have time for a few more questions. We have one across there.
Hey, I'm 18, so whoever said they're 19, I got you by one. I'm a film freshman, so every single project I've ever made has been very small scale, and I've pretty much had to avoid criticism up till now. But you guys have worked on much larger projects, and honestly, like, no matter how good or how bad a film is, it's always going to get some form of criticism. And I just kind of want to know how that makes you feel, like, this project that you put so much effort into. Like, do you guys ever go out of your way to see like the kind of stuff that people are saying about it negatively? And does that really affect you, if at all? I don't know if it really affects you at all, but just kind of curious as to how that really makes you feel.
Well, I mean, whenever I create art, I actually want to hear the bad. I actually want to hear the criticism, because, it's great. But don't get me wrong. I don't want people to be like, oh, God, you just suck all day. But, but sometimes I really want to hear what doesn't work for someone. Because, and I always tell students, that or aspiring artists, don't show your work only to your family and your friends because they love you and they're going to lie. And chances are they don't know any better. Show your work to people that are professionals that will really say, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. So for me, I actually like hearing criticism, as long as it's constructive. If someone's like, my God, that's just the worst thing I've ever seen, it's like, come on, well, what am I going to do with that? But if you say, hey, I don't think that elbow was right, or I don't think that perspective was right, or I don't think that was an authentic depiction of X, Y, and Z, like, that's really interesting to me. So I actually feed off of that kind of criticism,
Okay, yeah, I'll go. I would say in being a commercial artist, you develop tough skin. And that comes over time. Just keep continuously showing your work. And it's good to take the good and the bad with it and, just try to make it a little bit better than it was before. But that's always going to be there. And you just got to deal with it and then keep moving.
Hi, my name is Aisha Ogilvy. I'm a community board member. I'm the chair of IT for the district that I live in, Washington Heights in Inwood. However, I grew up in Harlem and Washington Heights. I went to Children's Arts Carnival, so it was exciting for me to hear someone say that. I also create youth programs in my community. I'm working on teaching kids coding now. I just went through development school. But my question is what would you all say, because you're all tremendous success stories, are crucial for our youth that have tremendous talents or the capability to maybe be in your seat one day? What are the supports that you think are necessary or that were key to getting you through to this point?
I think first, for me, it started with my family. My mom and my dad were very supportive, and so my mom was a teacher, so she just naturally instructs you to do everything. So she'd be like, "You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this." That helps, and then you just kind of surround yourself with like a cipher of people that are like-minded in terms of like they have that same drive and that same interest in creating. And then you surround yourself with people that are going to support you, people that are going to be upfront with you and say, "Hey, you might need to work on this. That's good. That's not good." But also, I think it really has. I always tell kids that you have to study. Art is like a sport, and drawing is like a sport, and you have to practice every day to get better. And you can't just, because I think kids today just want it now. It's like, now. I want it now. I want to be on screen now. And that doesn't really work in a lot of cases, unless your last name is Kardashian. So so I think that honestly, it really, well, actually, they put the work in, and they put work. It's a different kind of work, but I think that I just think that definitely you really need to practice and really study. It's great to draw what you want to draw, but you have to study and see what the people that I look up to, what are they doing, and how do they get to where they are, and can my work compete with them? And and I always say, my competition when I was in high school, my competition. I told my friends this: you're not my competition. They'd be like, "Oh, you're so egotistical." I'm like, "No, my competition are people who are working. That's who I'm comparing myself against." And I kept doing it even in college. You're not my competition. My competition are the guys that are selling, and they're selling hundreds or millions of copies of comic books per month. So that's your competition, and that's what you got to be able to compete with. And that's so it's knowing your competition, knowing the industry that you want to get into, and studying. And these days, there is no excuse not to be well-versed, especially with the internet. Because I was just having a conversation with Maya. When I was in college, there was no internet, if you can imagine. Computers were just coming, into play in 1993. So when it came time for artists to get work, we had to walk around to office with a portfolio and hopefully get work that way. And if you wanted to study something or research, you had to go to the library. To the library. Take a bus or a train or get your mom yet to drive you to a library. All the stuff that you have at your fingertips now with the internet, come on, there's no reason not to know. There's no excuse not to know. So.
On that note, I just want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you guys so much for all your advice, your comments. It's truly motivational, inspirational to not just myself, but everybody in this audience, clearly. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
And let's thank Maya, and let's also thank Joseph Petrick for Mario and The